Hello everyone, my name is Seth, and today I'm going to give you my review of Totally Killer. Totally Killer is an Amazon original movie, and it has been on my list to watch ever since I heard about it a little bit after Halloween. The premise of this movie was so incredibly interesting to me, and so I was super excited to finally get around to watching it. But before I go any farther, go ahead and like this video, hit subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a video. So jumping right into it, this might not be your next new horror classic. However, I did have fun with this film. Like I mentioned before, the idea here is so cool. This is such a good idea. The Sweet 16 killer comes back 35 years to take another victim. Our main character, Jamie, played by Kiernan Shipka, accidentally travels back in time where she tries to stop the killer before he starts. That is just such a great idea. I love the premise of the script. Like if I was a movie producer, I had that idea come across my desk, I absolutely would say, yep, we're making this movie. And this is also kind of a horror comedy, and you could definitely tell it's inspired by movies like Scream and even like Happy Death Day, which I do like both of them. Overall, I would say the script kind of has its ups and downs throughout the film. I really like Jamie's character. She's probably my favorite out of all of the characters. She's the most well-rounded and well-written to me. There were a couple of other standout characters in this film, but I would say most of them are a little bit one note. But sometimes I wish they kind of leaned into like the 80s slasher horror parody thing a little bit more. I think there's a lot of potential there, but I just wish they kind of had more of the kind of parody elements and kind of made some more commentary on like the 80s slasher films. I like some of the humor, some of it works pretty well, but I think about 50-50, it's good to not that great. I would say my biggest issue there is that a lot of the humor in this film is just, oh, haha, the 80s are so much different than 2023. They ended up using that kind of joke a lot. And while it worked maybe the first one or two times you saw it, they used it way too much. I think they definitely overused that type of joke in this film. And for me, after a while, it did get a little old. Also, I think you kind of have to suspend your disbelief quite a bit in this film for the time travel actual mechanic to work. You got to believe that a high schooler in a tiny town where everybody knows each other, one of those towns where this high schooler can build an actual real working time machine just for a science fair. That's not how I expect the time travel mechanic to work at all. And so it kind of caught me off guard, and I wish they could have done something a little bit different. There was one thing I thought they were going to do. There was something with Jamie having a crystal. I thought that might have had something to do with time travel, but then it ended up having nothing to do with it. And I wish they kind of maybe leaned into that side a little bit more. But I feel like they could have had a better idea actually for the time travel. I think they did a good job of kind of setting up how time travel works in this universe. They kind of compare it to a stream, how everything's flowing at the same time. You go back to a point earlier in the stream and it still flows, maybe just a little bit different, but it still flows. That way you can kind of have things happening in the past and in the present at the same time. I think that was an interesting way to handle that. It made sense in the world that they built, and they didn't over-explain it, which is good. Also, to kind of talk about how the script really is kind of up and down, I feel like that shows really well in the kind of twists or reveals in this. I'm not going to spoil what those are. I would say one reveal I did not see coming at all. The other reveal I saw coming from a mile away. Well, I mean, actually, it's more like 100 miles away, not just a mile. Within like 5 seconds of seeing this character on screen, I knew. I was like, yeah, this is going to happen with this character. And I was right. I think they ended up doing a pretty decent job of visually separating the present day from the 80s. I did think there was a couple more things that they could have done, maybe tweaked the color palette a little bit more, but they made the things in the 80s look nice and new compared to kind of how it is in 2023, where some of the things are kind of run down. Even though as a whole, I wouldn't necessarily say that this film is scary, I do think that they do a decent job of building tension. And because they do a good job of building tension, I do wish that there was more moments of tension in this film. I know it's a comedy, it's a horror comedy, but I wish they leaned into the horror side of it a little bit more. I think the action sequences in this film were pretty well done. I think for the most part, they were exciting and they had a lot of energy. I do think the action sequences were kind of over edited a bit. For some parts, there were just way too many cuts for me. During one sequence, I even kind of had the thought where it seems like they either didn't have the budget or didn't have the time to do another take. And that's why there's a lot of quick cuts kind of stitched together. As far as the cinematography goes, though, I think they did a good job with this. They had some really nice and creative shots. They had some really nice camera movement in this as well. But those were just a few moments. I wish they were able to carry that style through the whole film, not just in a few moments here and there. Kiernan Shipka was really good in this. This was the first time I had seen her in anything, but I think she gave a good performance. I'd really like to see her in more stuff based off of her performance here. Everyone else in the cast did a solid job. Some of their roles were a little bit more one-dimensional, but they did a good job at that role. It's just Jamie's character stood out to me the most throughout this film. But I do have to say, Randall Park is in this, and if you saw my Aquaman 2 review, I love when Randall Park pops up in anything. I couldn't find the exact number for the budget here, but I could tell it is a lower budget film, and that shows up in some of the CGI that they use. Sometimes the CGI does look kind of bad, but they do a good job of using it sparingly and kind of covering it up whenever they do have to use it. Overall, I did enjoy my time with this film. I thought it was a fun time, but if it doesn't work for you, I do get it. The script has an amazing idea, but the execution is kind of up and down all throughout the film. Some jokes work, but also about the equal amount of jokes don't work for me. There was some good creativity here with some of the shots and camera movements. However, I wish they utilized that just a little bit more. Kiernan Shipka is the biggest standout for me. She was really good in this, and I can't wait to see her in more stuff. This isn't necessarily going to be a new horror classic. I can't necessarily recommend this to everyone. However, I think the idea is worth giving it a watch. I enjoyed this film enough, and I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 stars. But that's it. That's my review of Totally Killer. Have you seen this film? Let me know what you thought in the comments section down below. I would love to have a conversation with you about it. Don't forget to like this video, hit subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can follow me on social media pretty much anywhere at CinemaSeth, and I'll see you next time.